Having not long released into early access, and with lore being touted on the roadmap for the future, you may think that there is no lore in vain. No evidence as to how the apocalypse began, or why we're suddenly thrown into a world of the undead. But there's a lot to be found in the world of Vane, and a lot more than meets the eye. In this video we'll be looking at new locations where we can start to see the story about how the apocalypse could have started. Some interesting, some disturbing, and some outright horrifying scenes. And at the end of the video, I'll pop on my tinfoil hat and tell you what I think caused the apocalypse. It goes without saying that in a video like this there will be spoilers, locations you haven't yet found, things you haven't yet seen. If you want to find these things yourselves, click off this video. But if you want to dive into the lore I've found so far, the story I think's unveiling in front of us, then let's get into it. Before we jump into speculation, let's kick off quickly with what we know, the facts. Vane is set in 2033, the near future. There's more than one survivor. With NPCs planned, we can be confident that for some reason, not everyone got infected. Not everyone who got infected at the same time. And also, there is no known cure for the zombie virus. Now with the facts out of the way, let's jump into the interesting stuff. My first question, is the outbreak a result of war? Well, the world of Vane appears to be in conflict. This is backed up by the fighter jets that fly past periodically, or the train crash, where all of the containers around it are military crates carrying weapons and munitions. Then there's also the helicopter crash, where again there's munitions on board and it's an army helicopter. And in addition, there's an outpost, Outpost Alpha, in the world. One of these things happening, and I can understand it being a coincidence, but with all of these factors in mind, it all feels too convenient and too constructed to ignore. But an apocalypse as a result of war doesn't feel specific enough, and this is where things get strange, dark even. In the world you'll come across numerous dump sites, locations where these same white box vans pop up with a myriad of corpses, body bags and military crates surrounding them. Not all of the body bags contain just the dead though, with some of them wriggling and writhing as the undead try to break out. The sites vary in size, from the relatively small sites with 2 vans and maybe a couple of dozen corpses, to the very large, with hundreds of corpses dumped in this disused quarry, for example. So this is where the corpses end up, but for me that raises some further questions. Where are they coming from? Who's dumping them? And when are they being dumped? Some, as I've said, are undead, so at the point of trying to dispose of these corpses, are they unaware of the infection? Wouldn't you burn them? Or destroy them? To investigate where the corpses are coming from, I've explored a lot of the map we've got access to so far, and there's some interesting findings. In Dannemora High School there's a brutal scene. Nothing in comparison with what we will see in this video, but violent evidence of the undead having been there. There are no body bags to be found here, just bloodstains and a couple of corpses which are either decomposing, suggested by the flies, or have been victims of gnawing zombies, perhaps both. The church in Serenak, which seems to have been set up to provide respite for those trying to avoid the undead, has a dark secret nestled behind its corner off its door. It's full of body bags. Again, some reanimated corpses trying to escape. Peculiarly, in St. Peter's Cemetery in Dannemora, a place for burying the dead, but where the dead appear to have been dug up. Graves reopened, evidenced by the headstones in place, but with their corresponding deceased gone. Body bags out the back of a white box van, fences put up so the public can't see. Why is this? And then a couple of the most interesting locations to explore. Lion Mountain Correctional Facility, which is home to some horrific sights and smells, and Clinton Correctional Facility. Let's start off with Clinton Correctional Facility, and then we'll explore the gruesome Lion Mountain Correctional Facility and the secrets it's trying to keep. Here in one of the gymnasiums, you come across more military crates, more body bags, more evidence of things having gone wrong. The thing I find strange, well, there's quite a few things, but the military are all over this. Yes, they could have been called in to contain, but how many fighter jets would be needed to contain a zombie outbreak? And if you search the military crates here, you'll find syringes, empty syringes. Perhaps these can be explained away, painkillers perhaps, or anaesthetics, or maybe there's a more sinister reason for them being held by the military in crates with guns and ammo. Something feels off, odd. If this isn't triggering questions in your own mind, before we pop on our tinfoil hats for my theory, let's go across to Lion Mountain Correctional Facility, where I think it's fair to say that the plot thickens. Interestingly, the location this shows up as is the Lion Mountain Quarantine Centre, not the correctional facility. You have to pay attention to the banner signs to see the origins of the building, and not what it seems to have become, a quarantine centre set up for keeping the well away from the infected. Dive below the surface, literally here, and you'll happen upon some showers, a holding place for those now infamous body bags. Again, not all dead, undead too. The corridors twist and turn throughout this once prison. Almost every door seems to lead to a room reused as a ward, lined with hospital beds, medic kits, quarantine boxes. Apart from one room which is filled with microscopes. Now, considering this was supposed to be a place to keep the uninfected, there's a lot to suggest otherwise. Then you make your way into the main hall, a scene which does lend itself to being the last stand for many, sheltering from the inevitable. Here there's corpses decomposing, belongings, sleeping bags, and it's silent, other than the buzzing of the flies and the buzzing of the lights. But perhaps the deepest, darkest secret of this quarantine centre, one that is kept behind locked, barricaded doors, is the room used for church, where once hymns were sung lay more bags containing the dead and the undead. In the corner, a single isolated sleeping bag, a doctor's coat, and then, and there's no other way to put this than what you can see, blenders, body parts, microscopes, and jars. Jars of nectar, each labelled Nectar Mortuorum, Latin for nectar of the dead. Perhaps an attempt at a cure, you may think. The last stand in trying to understand this virus by this doctor who met his end by the one thing he was trying to cure. But written under each label, scribbled in handwriting, is Donum Immortalitatis, Latin for the gift of immortality. You don't want to know how many takes that took for me to get right. So was this the last stand, the attempt to find the cure? Or is this where it all began? As we go back to the dump site at the quarry, we see those white box vans, we see those white tents. How odd. Temporary treatment rooms at the very place where you're dumping the dead. Or a place where you can extract, or inject, or dissect. Judging by the amount of blood here, nobody living was being treated here. Moving away from corpse disposal and body bags, there's other things in the world, things that raise more questions. The signs that welcome congregations into churches, all of them the same, all of them talking about a plague where the flesh will consume away whilst they stand upon their feet. This is pretty poignant for the times in which we are now living. In the church room we've just seen, and in churches across the map, the same verses and readings are on the hymn boards. I've read them, and if that's not enough for you to click subscribe right now, I don't know what is. But with some of them proving interesting reading for a post-apocalyptic world. Quotes such as, "I urge you, brothers and sisters, to watch out for those who cause divisions and put obstacles in your way that are contrary to the teaching you have learned. Keep away from them." That's from Romans 16:17. Does this go towards the idea of Vane being set in a period of war? Maybe. And now the time has come for me to put my neck on the line and kick off the conspiracy theories as to how this apocalypse came to be. Based on what we have access to so far, and based on what we've seen and explored in this video, my theory at the moment is this. The military, in an age of war, decided to conduct scientific experiments and research for one of two reasons. Either to inflict pain and suffering on the people the war is against, or in the hope of discovering the secret to immortality. Unfortunately, whilst conducting the research, whilst trying to perhaps resurrect the dead, or maybe whilst injecting test subjects, potentially from the prison, something went wrong. The contagion escaped. The test subject overpowered them, or perhaps it became contagious, and that's what led us here. One thing is for sure, I'm especially excited to see what the devs cook up for us in terms of lore, and I'm super intrigued to see your theories in the comments below. Perhaps you found something I've missed, a location that holds a key to the story. Let me know down below. If you haven't subscribed already, I'd really appreciate it if you did, and if you could drop a thumbs up on this video. See you on Monday for my Let's Play, and Wednesday for another Vane upload. In the meantime, here's a couple of videos you may enjoy.